Hello all and welcome to video classes by Konnur Institutes. Today we will be discussing how do we collect the data. In our previous class we have talked about how data will help us in carrying out our project, and with the help of data what are those advantages wherein we can come up with the solutions and all, right? So today now we'll understand how are we going to collect this data. We have already studied the sources of data, from where we are going to get the data, right? But how are we going to collect this data, or how are we going to gather this data is also one of the important tasks which we have to understand. So before that we have to understand about survey. You might have heard about this word, right? When you have finished your SSLC and you are looking for your college for first PUC, then do you just go blindly and take admissions in the colleges where your friend might have insisted, or one of your parents might have suggested? No, right? What do? You check all those informations, you conduct a survey, right? Which college might be best suitable for me, and on what basis you are going to choose this college. That everything comes under survey. So survey is the basic tool, we can say, wherein you can collect the data. So to collect this data, how are you going to do this? You might have arised some questions in your mind also, right? When you are going to choose a college, what kind of college you are looking for, in which area you are looking for, and for what subjects you are looking for, and which are those colleges which are offering the subjects which you are interested in, right? So these are the questions wherein these questions might have come to your mind, and then you start answering these questions depending on considering the colleges, right? So when you get most of the answers, most of the questions answered in your favor, then you try to opt for that college, right? So in this kind, what you are constructing here in this survey, you are constructing questionnaires, right? So what you are constructing is, you are constructing these questions. So this survey leads to preparation of the questionnaire. So that's where you will understand the preparation of the instrument, what we say, which is nothing but the questionnaire. So here instrument is nothing but the questionnaire. Why we are calling it as an instrument is because with the help of that instrument, with the help of these questions, the questions which have arrived in your mind, with the help of those questions, so what are you trying here is, you are trying to find the answer for that questions, right? So first we have to understand how we need to prepare these questions, or how are we supposed to prepare this instrument. So there are certain rules, or what we can say, which needs to be kept in mind while preparing this questionnaire. So we'll just go one by one, and I'll be giving an explanation for each of that. So first is that the questionnaire should not be too long. They are specifically telling about the question should not be too long. For example, if you want to choose any of the question, how are you going to choose any of the college? Are you just going to build a question in such a manner that it's too long? No, right? You frame that question wherein it should be very easy for somebody to understand and somebody to give the answer, right? So that's the first point, wherein the questionnaire should not be too long. The number of questions should be as minimum as possible. It should not be like 50-60 questions wherein you are just going to ask somebody for choosing some product or some kind of college. If you do like that, then what happens? The respondent will not get interest to answer. He will be interested to answer for the first initial group or set of questions. But as it delays or as it prolongs, then what happens? He might start losing the interest on giving the answers for those questions. So that's the reason you should keep that questionnaire as minimum as possible. Long questionnaires discourage people from completing them. That's what I have told, right? As you go on answering or as you cross 20th question from 21, the respondent might lose his interest to give the answer. So that's the reason the question should not be too long, and you should ask as a minimum as possible questions. Next is that the series of questions should move from general to specific. It's like when I have asked you or when I have given you a survey, it's not that I have just directly jumped on the specific topic. It should be like first I have to start from the general topics and then I have to move to the specific. For example, I want to ask the students, how was your examination when you have appeared your SSLC board, right? So I want to ask you the experience, how you have experienced in writing that exam. So is that what I will ask directly to you, saying how was your mathematics exam, or how did you feel when you have just first entered the hall? No, right? That's not how I am going to ask. First, what I will ask is, what is your name? From which school you have come, or which are the subjects you are interested in, and which are the subjects you feel more tough, right? So these are the general questions which will be asked in the initial stage, and then you have to come to the specific. So that's the second point which needs to be kept in mind. Next, the questionnaire should start from general questions and then proceed to the more specific one. This helps the respondent feel comfortable. So the motto behind this is because we have to make those respondents to feel comfortable. If you give a questionnaire or if you ask the students that I am going to conduct a survey and you have to answer to all my questions, then students feel like what is this survey, right? Because they don't know how to answer, or they may not have experienced any of this kind of surveys. So for them it becomes like a difficult task, what we can say. So that's the reason, to make them feel comfortable about that survey or to make them feel comfortable about that questionnaire, first we have to ask the general questions, basic questions, and then we have to move towards the specific one. Next is that the question should be precise and clear. Here, when you have framed questions, it should be very clear. There should not be any confusions with the respondents. For example, if you have not come up with any of the decisions where to take admission or in which college I need to take admission, then how your experience will be, or in what state you will be. You will be in the confusion state, right? Your friends might be suggesting some other colleges wherein your parents are not suggesting that college which your friends have suggested already. So this is the stage wherein you will be experiencing the dilemma, right? You will be very confused where I need to take admission in the college. You even can't deny the suggestion which your parents might have given, right? Because they also have some points wherein they might have considered that college might be best suitable for my child, right? So you will be in the dilemma which to choose, right? So these are the questions wherein we need to be very careful while preparing the questions. So questions should be always very precise and clear. Next is that the questions should not be ambiguous to enable the respondent to answer quickly, correctly and clearly. It should not be very difficult. For example, they have asked you a poor question and a good question. For example, do you spend a lot of money on books in a month? Or how much do you spend on books in a month? Which question is more appealing to you? If you give any options to that question, then you might choose any of those options, right? For example, I spend 100 rupees in a month for a book, or I spend between 150 to 200. So that's the average, that's the range where you can tick, right? It becomes very easy for you to understand. Otherwise, what happens? You might be thinking that what kind of books are they talking about? Are they talking about the magazines? Are they talking about those novels or self-help books? Or are they talking about the books which are related for my curriculum? Right? You get into this dilemma. So that's the reason, if the question has certain options which is being given, then you tick those from one of those, right? So that's the reason it should not be very ambiguous, means confusing. Next is that the question should not use double negatives. So the question should not use double negative, means it should not have don't you kind of, or don't we, or wouldn't we. So these are questions wherein they are asking about the negatives. Okay, so they have given some examples here. Don't you think smoking should be prohibited? Okay, so they have asked that don't we think that the smoking is prohibited, right? So smoking is also one thing which comes under bad habits, and don't is also one negative thing which we have already initiated with that from the first. So these kind of questions should not be asked when we are preparing the questionnaire. So next is that the question should not be leading questions. Leading questions means you should not give any clue in the question itself. For example, do you like tea or coffee? That's the question. So I have given you clue in the question, right? Coffee or tea. So these kind of questions should not be asked also. So this kind of question, what it happens is, which gives a clue about how the respondent should answer. I haven't given respondent the freedom here to answer, because I have given only two options, whether he likes coffee or tea, right? So only two options is being given. From these two options he have to choose either the coffee or the tea, right? So these kind of questions should not be asked while preparing the questionnaire. The question should not indicate alternatives to answer. For example, do you like to do a job after college, or you want to remain as a housewife? Here also what you are doing, you have already given them the alternatives to choose from those both. Otherwise, what you can do is, you can either ask them the open-ended question. For example, what would you like to do after completing your graduation? So this kind of question gives a very open situation wherein the respondent might give the answer in multiple answers. For example, he might give that saying, I am thinking for starting a business, and simultaneously I am also looking for my higher studies, right? So here I have given him the freedom of expression. If the question is being given only two alternatives, then it's not easy for him to express his views. So that's the reason these kind of questions should also not be asked while preparing the questions. So these are the main important things wherein one has to keep in mind while preparing the questionnaire. And there are two more points or two more kind of questionnaire which we will also discuss. One is the close-ended questionnaire and second is the open-ended questionnaire. Close-ended questionnaire are those which are structured one. Okay, we will call them as a structured questionnaire. And open-ended questionnaire are unstructured questionnaire. So what is this structured and unstructured? Structured questionnaires are those questionnaires wherein you have to answer from the given multiples, or else you have to answer in a two-way. Two-way means yes or no kind of answer. So these kind of questions are called as close-ended questions, wherein you are not given a freedom to express apart from these options or the yes or no. So that's the reason we call them as a close-ended. And open-ended questionnaire are just opposite to the close-ended question. So here you have a freedom of your own expressions. So you can write the answer for the question. Here you can express what you feel about that question. So here there will not be any restriction for the questionnaire. So this is how we have to frame the questionnaire, keeping in mind these all the steps or these all the points while we are preparing the questionnaire. So in the next class we will talk more on the modes of data collection. See you all in the next video class.